WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Leaf Software Solutions, a local resource for software needs. Leaf helps businesses grow. More at leafsoftwaresolutions.com.
Cesar Maldonado is the founder and artistic director of Mariachi Herencia de México, a Chicago-based ensemble rooted in the Mariachi Heritage Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving mariachi music through youth education programs. Founded in 2016, Mariachi Herencia de México has grown into a dynamic band of young virtuosos that blends tradition with innovation. Their 2017 debut album topped Latin music streaming charts and earned a Latin Grammy nomination, a significant achievement for a group that began as a student project. The group has toured across North America, appearing at major venues and festivals, helping to broaden the reach of mariachi music and inspire a new generation of performers. Mariachi Herencia de México will be performing in Indiana this week, on February 19th at the Indiana University Auditorium in Bloomington, and on February 20th at the Allied Solutions Center for the Performing Arts in Carmel. Cesar Maldonado will join me in a moment, but first, let's hear a track from Mariachi Herencia de México's 2025 album, Viva la Música. This is Preciosa.
Preciosa, yo sé de sus hembras trigueñas, sé del olor de sus rosas, por eso a mi tierra riqueña, por siempre la llamaré.
That was Mariachi Herencia de México with Preciosa. And my guest this week is the group's founder and artistic director, Cesar Maldonado. Let's join our conversation. Cesar, Mariachi Herencia de México will be performing in Carmel, Indiana on February 20th. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to our audience about the history of this group.
Thank you for having us, Kyle. We're excited to be at IU Bloomington and at Carmel as well. It'll be our second time playing at Carmel at the Allied Solutions Center. Beautiful, beautiful venue, and just a perfect place to share this beautiful tradition of mariachi.
Yeah, you're in Bloomington on the 19th, so people have two chances to see the group, depending on where they may live here in Indiana. As we get started, I wanted to talk a bit about your background, which I think is really interesting. You're not a musician. In fact, you're an investment banker, right?
I am.
In 2012, you established the Mariachi Heritage Foundation, which helped bring mariachi music into public education in Chicago. In 2016, you founded the group Mariachi Herencia de México. How did all that happen? How did an investment banker have such a strong connection with this culture and music? Tell us a bit about yourself.
You know, I come from humble background. My parents immigrated to the U.S. in the late 70s, early 80s. My parents are from the same town, found each other here in Chicago, literally factory workers that raised their three boys and pushed education, pushed values like pride and culture and tradition, and my brothers and I. So I grew up dancing ballet folklorico, which is kind of what a lot of Mexican kids do as they grow up. And then music was just always in my ear. My dad's musical palette is just amazing. He taught me to listen to Los Panchos, Mariachi Vargas, Juan Gabriel, Vicente Fernandez, all the legends. So I grew up with it. And I do have a background in finance. I went to Davidson College in North Carolina, where Stephen Curry played ball. And I was an econ major. So led me to an investment banking career. But I think my true passion is in the arts. It's in music. Since being a little kid, my mom would tell stories of how I would do, these crazy art projects. So from a young age, I would kind of learn that, you can have a vision, place it, and then people will come. I kind of learned that from the beginning, being on the southwest side of Chicago and growing up here. When I was back from Davidson, and then I lived in New York a while, where I started my career. I came back to Chicago and saw that the same schools that I attended when I was a kid were still struggling in the arts, and cultural arts was the thing that was happening, elsewhere in the country. Western states have amazing cultural arts program embedded into their school curriculums. So we kicked off a mariachi program at Chicago Public Schools here to teach the music, just like orchestra and just like band programs are taught. So sequential mariachi curriculum-based programs. And from there, we started auditioning kids to form Mariachi Herencia de Mexico in 2016, 2017. And we've been kind of kicking butt since. The mission is to make really cool mariachi music and to hope that the new bicultural generation can listen to it.
You mentioned you grew up doing ballet folklorico. What about the traditional music and culture spoke to you so much? What is it about mariachi that speaks to you so deeply that you wanted to devote so much of your life to promoting and preserving this culture?
I've always been really proud of my culture, of my background, of being Mexican and being of Mexican descent. I was born in Chicago. My parents were born in Mexico. I was first to go to college, first to graduate college, etc. So growing up with it and now having my own kids, it's something that it's kind of the common denominator of my life. My kids are growing up in the same way. Having pride for who you are is just such an important thing, something that I teach my kids every day. The saying, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. I live by that. Mariachi music lends itself to community. It started as a community music in the campos in Mexico, in central western Mexico. It started in the late 19th century as a campesino music. People would leave the farms, turn on a fireplace, and sing sones, which is the songs that are usually about pride and about pride for your culture, about pride for your family. And these were communal happenings. People would, the rhythms to this music is very up tempo because people would dance to it. So it was a celebration of music, of culture, of life in the campesino time.
Qué bonitas son las indias desde Tuxpan sin igual, del meritito Jalisco donde hay puro natural. Qué bonitas son las indias desde Tuxpan sin igual, del meritito Jalisco donde hay puro natural.
Can you tell me a bit about the decision to form this ensemble? As I mentioned, it came out of the curriculum you established in the school system in Chicago. At what point did you start thinking that, hey, there's enough talent here that we could really put together a unique performance ensemble?
Sure thing. In 2016, we launched an all-city program. So a lot of the students that were taking mariachi around the city were able to audition to a weekend program, which we modeled off the Chicago Youth Symphony Orchestra program in terms of curriculum. And we would take 90 students on the weekend, audition-based, and then we set them in 3 levels. So we'd have three classes. And the highest ensemble, we did a very cool project with them to record an album. A lot of times when kids are learning music, I see it in my own kids now, even in sports where, kids want to train for a week and then start, scoring touchdowns and scoring threes, kind of the same in music. So I did an exercise with the kids to record an album. But my intent was to really teach the importance of intonation and to playing music at a high level so the kids can understand that and kind of set a goal and a mind frame. That was the goal. So we ended up recording the project and then it sounded really good and we released it. We released it on all platforms and then later in the year got a Grammy nomination for it.
Relámpago en el viento trae mucha electricidad. Relámpago en el viento trae mucha electricidad. Acábame de querer si me tienes voluntad. Acábame de querer si me tienes voluntad. Y la la la, y la la la, la la la, y la la la, y la la la.
It's an incredible evolution, and I wanted to ask you about that. In just 10 years, the group has grown from a student project, I think primarily made up of students in Chicago. In 10 years, you've gone on to record 6 or 7 albums, I think, perform with iconic Mexican and Mexican-American musicians like Aida Cuevas, David Hidalgo, Los Lobos. Are you shocked at how big this has become?
It's amazing. It's amazing. And we're super, super thrilled, to be in Chicago where we're not in Mexico, obviously. And the fact that mariachi is being successful out of the Midwest in the U.S. Is just an amazing accomplishment and something that we don't take lightly. We take it on as a responsibility. to push this genre forward. The genre is not as alive as it was in the golden era. We lost Vicente Fernandez. We lost Juan Gabriel. We lost the greats. So now it's up to us. It's up to us to push the movement forward. Mariachi Herencia de México is now comprised of some of the best mariachi musicians in the world, from all over the place, all over Mexico, all over the U.S., from still here in Chicago. We're a young, fresh band. We sing in both languages without losing the essence of mariachi. That's totally important to us. The essence of mariachi, the tradition, we respect that the most. Mariachi music is generational music. So a lot of the members are 4 or 5 time generations in their families of being mariachi musicians. So as you can imagine, it's a legacy that we respect. And when we make new music, we always try to honor the old school and then put a little bit of our fresh take on it too.
Can you give us a sense of your sort of day-to-day role in the group now? Are you making decisions about production? Tell us a bit about your role. Are you touring with the group?
Yeah, so we've had to figure it out. As you can imagine, Chicago's, we're not LA or we're not Miami. We're trying to be because, Chicago has the second biggest Mexican population in the country. So we've kind of had to create our own path in the music world. But I guess everyone in music is trying to do that. We're excited to position Mariachi Herencia de México as kind of a leading artist that can take the genre forward. And my day is I wear every hat I produce the band. Right now I'm working on three new albums for the band that we're going to be releasing in the next 2 years. We're putting together our largest tour yet, La Nueva Generación tour, which has been our tour since last year. Last year we played about 60 cities around the US. Next year we're going to be going to Latin America. Actually, this year we're going to be going to Canada, Latin America. And then around the U.S. again to continue La Nueva Generación tour, which should be doing about 80 dates in the U.S. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. We're recording music. We're releasing content. We're trying to play the game of music in today and really make an imprint in mariachi because we want kids that grew up just like I grew up, speaking English. I speak English most of the day. It's like my own kids. So we want those kids to not forget about mariachi music. And so these new recording projects are really geared towards that audience. Yes, we're going to be doing some of, the great composers, but we're also interested in making music for the kids to make sure that they value and they embrace their own culture as well.
Dicen que por las noches no más se le iba y puro llorar. Dicen no más se le iba y puro tomar. Juran que el mismo cielo se estremecía al oír su llanto. Cómo sufrió por ella que hasta en su muerte la fue llamando.
I did want to ask you about the group's repertoire, which is at times surprising. You do classic, traditional mariachi music. You also have a medley of Frank Sinatra tunes. Yeah. I think one of the most recent albums, you do La Murga, a song made famous by the salsa musicians Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe. Tell us about the repertoire of the group and kind of the cross-cultural sort of fusions the group engages in.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm from here, so I was born here and I was raised here. So I grew up with American music. I love jazz music. I love soul. I love blues. On our last album, we did an album called Viva la Música, and we were on kind of a 1950s, 60s, 70s New York music era binge, if you will, with the jazz era and the salsa era kicking off in NYC. And the composers and the artists that made music then, I would just love to be born again and be born in that era just for the music. So we decided to bring it into mariachi and see what we can do with it. And we fused it. And in that album, Viva la Música, we did a lot of jazz. We did a lot of salsa. We did Hector Lavoe, we did Willie Colon, we did Celia Cruz. Really grateful for the opportunity to record this type of music.
Porque tu amor es mi espina, por las cuatro esquinas hablan de los dos, que es un escándalo dicen y hasta me maldicen por darte mi amor. No hagas caso de la gente, sigue la corriente y quiéreme más.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. If you're just tuning in, my guest this week is Cesar Maldonado, the founder and artistic director of Mariachi Herencia de México. The group will be performing in Indiana this week on February 19th at the Indiana University Auditorium in Bloomington, and on February 20th at the Allied Solutions Center for the Performing Arts in Carmel. Let's return to my conversation with Cesar. Cesar, you mentioned the size of Chicago's Mexican community, and I did want to ask you about the history of Mexican arts and culture in Chicago. There's an amazing history there, not only with mariachi music, but in the 90s, the Mexican-American community of Chicago innovated a new style of music called duranguense, which influenced the people back in Mexico. Tell me a bit about tell me a bit about the history of Mexican music in Chicago and kind of where you and the group fit into that.
You know, Chicago's music scene has been alive and well. In the 60s is the first credited mariachi band, Mariachi Potosino from the Pilsen area. But even before that, we found out that Mariachi Cirilo Marmolejo, which is the founder of mariachi music in the city of Cocula in central Mexico, after the Mexican Revolution in 1933, during the nationalism period of Mexico, Mexico came to Chicago, to the Chicago World Trade Fair. That happened in 1933 and 34, and the Mexican government actually brought Cirilo Marmolejo and his musicians. This was before mariachi was on TV and on the radio. While here, they spent 2 years here in Chicago at the showcase. And then someone, this is something that we're investigating now for a potential project, but someone takes Cirilo Marmolejo and his musicians to Record Row, South Michigan Avenue, and they record 3 songs, which are now owned by the Smithsonian Archive, and we actually just found them.
Pensando en que me querías, me pasaba yo los días, rasguñaba la pared. Al tiempo en que despertaba la tristeza me agobiaba y volvía yo a beber. Pensando en otras mujeres, en el brindis, los placeres, un consuelo a mi dolor. Allá en medio de los días de mi mente renacía un ensueño embriagado.
That story tells us that Chicago is actually a part of the birthplace of mariachi music. And for it to happen on the South Michigan Avenue here in Chicago, you know, it's just an amazing thing. So what we want to do is we want to rescue those songs. We're going to re-record them through a Sones album to honor. Marmolejo started his group in 1926. So this would be exactly 100 years later. And now, 100 years have passed with Mexican immigration and so much immigration into the southwest side of Chicago. You know, so much music has come out. Duranguense, for example, my family is actually from Durango. So that whole period holds a special place in my heart just because it started in Chicago. And then I would go to Mexico and visit my family and they'd be fans of the music we were doing over here, which is kind of weird. Same thing is happening with mariachi. Mariachi music is so much more respected in the U.S. than in Mexico, which is why we tour so much here. I don't think I can put together a tour like I put together in the U.S. and Mexico just because people don't view it in the same way as here.
Cesar, we're living in a very politically divisive time, right? We've seen powerful politicians say horrible things and make up horrible lies about immigrant communities, about Latinos. On the other hand, we've seen how music and arts and culture can uplift people, like Bad Bunny's performance at the Super Bowl. I wonder if you could speak at all on the importance of bringing this group out on the road now to places like Indiana, sharing this music and culture. Arts and music obviously unite. That's why we do what we do. That's why we play music. I think the special point about Mariachi Herencia de México is our audience. Every time we go play a show, we play performing arts centers, we play theaters, we play casinos, we play all kinds of venues. And we tend to bring an audience that's completely diverse. And that's the most special thing that's happening with Mariachi Herencia de México. I don't know that's because we recorded Frank Sinatra or if we recorded other music, but whatever the reason is, we're attracting all kinds of diverse audiences, not just the Mexican community or the Latino community. That's incredibly important. The show that we're presenting now, hopefully it uplifts. It's all beautiful music. I'm on the sidelines during the show, and when I see the audiences react to the band, sometimes you see first-timers react to the band, and when you see a band looking that fresh, that young, and playing and singing that well, it just kind of makes the hair on your arms just kind of come up. It just kind of gives you a feeling. And then, so you look at maybe the non-Latinos in the audience and you see their amazed faces as to what they're seeing. So boom, you've made an impact. And then right next to them is the Mexican community and the Latino community, our community, with tears in their eyes because they're hearing the songs that they used to hear when they grow up. So the show, Mariachi Herencia, I think our mission is to bring people together through our music, through our show, through our tours. One of the things that we do when we tour, we get the venues to try to do a school show or a student show where we'll invite students from schools to come in that morning before the public show, and we'll play a special educational show, pieces from the main show, but we'll add an educational component. And those are the most important shows for us because that's when we get to really instill the genre and the mission of what we do, which is feel proud of where you come from. Don't listen to all the fluff on TV. Stick to your heart. Stick to your guns, and just keep pushing. And I think our music has a way of uniting people when we play live. Cesar, Mariachi Herencia de Mexico will be performing twice in Indiana, on February 19th in Bloomington and February 20th in Carmel. The work you've done to preserve and promote this music is really extraordinary and inspirational. I thank you for taking time to do this today. It was an honor to feature you on the program, so thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for all the work you do, and viva el mariachi.
Al parecer no has recibido mi mensaje. Cuando te fuiste te lancé mil advertencias. No hiciste caso, yo la vengo a repetirte lo que te dije aquella noche con cautela. Tú no pensaste.
WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Leaf Software Solutions, offering production-grade AI. Leaf AI Studio delivers through subscription-based engagements. More at leafsoftwaresolutions.com.